tibio-talar joint, also known as the ankle, is a very complex joint that has many bones and ligaments. More specifically, this joint is a synovial hinge joint. It has 6 major features in its general structure that are characteristic of a synovial joint. They are articular cartilage, a joint cavity, an articular capsule, synovial fluid, reinforcing ligaments, and a rich supply of nerves and blood vessels. As a joint, the tibio-fibular-talar joint's main purpose is movement. This movement can be divided up into 2 different types of movement. The first is dorsiflexion, and the second is plantar flexion. Dorsiflexion occurs when the ankle is bent, and plantar flexion occurs when the ankle is straightened out. There are many muscles and tendons in the leg that are involved in the movement of the ankle. They can be divided up into 2 sections, muscles and tendons that are involved in dorsiflexion, and muscles and tendons that are involved in plantar flexion. There are 3 muscles that are involved in the dorsiflexion of the ankle: the tibialis anterior, the extensor digitorum longus, the extensor hallucis longus, and the peroneus tertius. The tibialis anterior originates at the lateral condyle of the tibia and runs down the anterior side of the tibia, and then inserts as a tendon into the medial cuneiform and first metatarsal bone. The extensor digitorum longus originates at the lateral condyle of the tibia, runs down the leg, and inserts into the middle and distal phalanges of toes 2 through 5 as a tendon. The peroneus tertius, which is usually continuous with the extensor digitorum longus, originates at the distal anterior end of the tibia and inserts on the dorsum of the 5th metatarsal, also as a tendon. There are 7 muscles that are involved in the plantar flexion of the foot: the peroneus longus, the peroneus brevis, the gastrocnemius, the soleus, the tibialis posterior, the flexor digitorum longus, and the flexor hallucis longus. The peroneus longus lies on top of the fibula with its origin at the upper portion of the fibula. It becomes a tendon that wraps underneath the foot and inserts to the first metatarsal and medial cuneiform. The gastrocnemius is a pair of muscles with 2 heads that originate from the medial and lateral condyles of the femur and insert as the calcaneal tendon into the posterior calcaneus. The tibialis posterior is deep to the soleus with its origin at the superior tibia, fibula, and interosseous membrane. It becomes a tendon and wraps behind the medial malleolus, under the arch of the foot, and finally inserts into several tarsals and metatarsals 2 through 4. Flexor digitorum longus runs medially to the tibialis posterior with its origin on the posterior tibia. It becomes a tendon that wraps behind the medial malleolus and inserts into the distal phalanges of toes 2 through 5.
The tibio-fibular-talus joint is formed by the articulation of the upper surface of the talus with the distal ends of the tibia and fibula. The ends of the tibia and fibula form a deep socket where the trochlear projection of the talus fits. The surface of all 3 bones are covered with hyaline cartilage. This hyaline cartilage is important in joints because the cartilage acts as a lubricant during movement. If bone were allowed to rub against bone for any extended period of time, the bone would quickly be broken down from the heat and the pressure. During dorsiflexion and plantar flexion, the bones of the ankle joint are protected and lubricated by the hyaline cartilage. It creates a smooth surface against which all the bones can articulate. Like all joints, the tibio-fibular-talus joint is held together by ligaments. There are 2 collateral ligaments strengthening the lateral and medial sides of the fibrous capsule. The medial side of the ankle is strengthened by the deltoid ligament, which attaches the medial malleolus to 3 tarsal bones: the talus, navicular, and calcaneus bone. The deltoid ligament has 4 main parts that are named according to the bony site they are attached to. These 4 parts are the tibio-navicular, tibio-talar, and the tibio-calcaneal ligaments. The tibio-navicular ligament attaches the tibia to the navicular bone, the tibio-talar ligament attaches the tibia to the talus, and the tibio-calcaneal ligament attaches the tibia to the calcaneus. The lateral side of the ankle is strengthened by the lateral ligament. It attaches the lateral malleolus to the tarsus and is divided into 3 different parts: the anterior talofibular ligament, the posterior talofibular ligament, and the calcaneofibular ligament. The anterior talofibular ligament is weaker and attaches the lateral malleolus of the fibula to the neck of the talus in a slightly medial direction. The posterior talofibular ligament is relatively strong and attaches the malleolus of the fibula to the talus in a horizontal and medial direction. The calcaneofibular ligament connects the tip of the lateral malleolus of the fibula to the lateral surface of the calcaneus in a posterior and inferior direction. There are several accessory structures in the tibio-fibular-talus joint: the flexor retinaculum and the bursa near the Achilles. The flexor retinaculum the laciniate ligament, is a fibrous band of fascia made of dense connective tissue. It covers the tendons and muscles that aid in the flexion of the ankle. The specific tendons it covers are the tibialis posterior, flexor digitorum longus, and flexor hallucis longus. It prevents subluxation or partial dislocation of these tendons. The bursa in the heel is a flattened fibrous sac in between the heel and the Achilles tendon. It is filled with a thin layer of synovial fluid to provide a cushion. This bursa prevents the Achilles tendon and the calcaneus from rubbing up against each other and causing damage.
Blimey! Welcome to Joints Gone Wild, mates. Today, we're going to be talking about the ankle. Alright, mates. First thing today, we're going to be talking about 3 different animals. Ostrich, horse, and chimpanzee. The ostrich, a big, beautiful, flightless bird with a stride over 16 feet. Blimey! 16 feet! The bird's legs contribute to its speed, and specifically its ankles, which is what we're describing today, the ankle joint. It is often believed that ostriches have backward bending knee joints. These backward knee joints, in fact, are the ostrich's ankle joints. What appears to be the shin of the ostrich are actually elongated tarsometatarsal bones. With the ostrich's ankle joint located where the knee joint of the humans are, the muscles are used to move the ankle and can also be situated more proximal to the body where the tendons that move. The ankle are extended further down the leg. Pretty different from the human. So how does it make its means to run faster? By keeping the muscle mass closer to the body, which allows the bird to run at greater speed, right? Our next animal is the horse. The horse ankle is completely different from the human's chimpanzee and ostrich ankle. What most people consider to be the ankle joint of the horse is actually called the fetlock. It is located directly above the hooves of all 4 legs. Location-wise, the ankle joint of the horse is very similar to the ankle joint of a human. However, the structure of the equine ankle joint is very different from that of a human ankle joint. It actually resembles more of a human wrist joint. The fetlock is designed to primarily move forward and backward and has limited circular and sideways movement. Well, mates, out of all the animals we talked about today, chimpanzee ankle joints are the most similar to human ankle joints. Both ankle joints are formed by the articulation of the tibia, fibula, and talus. All 3 bones have very similar shapes in both humans and chimpanzees. While chimpanzees can't walk on 2 feet like humans can for a long period of time, that is not because of the ankle joints. The feet of humans and chimpanzee are extremely different from each other. Both the ankle joints are very similar. Well, mates, that's all the time we have left for today. Tune in next time for Joints Gone Wild with Ranger Taylor.
I was playing basketball and I rolled my ankle on the inside and it started swelling and I'm in a lot of pain.
It sounds like you have a deltoid ligament sprain, which is also known as an ankle eversion sprain. This sprain usually happens on the inside of the ankle, therefore it is extremely rare because just think of how hard it is to roll your ankle to the inside. It is rare to roll your ankle to the inside because 1, the fibula usually prevents the ankle from moving far enough to the inside to sprain the inside ligaments, and 2, the medial ligaments are a lot stronger than the ligaments on the lateral side. You should just elevate, ice, rest, and compress it, and you should be good in no time.
What's up, Doc? I'm Taylor.
Dr. Dawson.
I was in the weight room, lifting some weights, doing some split squats, and one of my teammates thought it was smart to do some lunges right next to me. So as I was coming down, I landed on his foot, and right here in my ankle, I twisted it. It pretty much went all the way down to the ground and popped. What do I do?
Well, based on the swelling around and to the lateral malleolus, bruising and discoloration, it looks like you have sprained your anterior talofibular ligament. This is actually very common because the anterior talofibular ligament is the weakest ligament in the lateral-collateral complex of the ankle. The anterior talofibular ligament sprain occurs when the ankle is plantar flexed and inverted forcefully. With rest, ice, compression, elevation, and some strengthening, Your ankle should be as good as new in a matter of weeks. On a side note, another less common sprain that occurs in the ankle is the sprain of the calcaneofibular ligament. This sprain happens in the same way as the anterior talar fibular ligament sprain. What seems to be the problem?
Well, I was running and I stepped in a hole, and all of a sudden I heard a snap in the back of my leg, and then I felt some shooting pain go up and I couldn't walk anymore.
What you have experienced is a ruptured or torn Achilles tendon. The Achilles tendon is the ligament that is continuous with the gastrocnemius. When you tear your tendon, you can't use your gastrocnemius to move your heel, which explains why you can't walk. I would recommend surgery to connect your Achilles tendon back together.
Thank you.